hello everybody. I'm going to share my screen. If that is going to happen right away, because sometimes I'm a little bit stupid. But here we are. I must say, I'm going through quite some changes in life, like perhaps all of you. I'm at the beginning of this confinement, I was in sheer panic. I thought, how is it possible what is happening? I'm a traveling person and a person who is working with other people. And there I was alone. And I thought, oh my God, I start sewing like an idiot, repaired everything what was to be repaired, used every fabric that grounded me. And then I discovered people again, especially online, these webinars. And I must say, what we have forgotten before this period is how important a community is. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I have discovered quite some communities, and I think that if we talk about before the pandemic, about multinationals, giant companies ruling the world, we have suddenly also during the confinement discovered the micro multinationals, small companies who come with fantastic smart ideas, who speak the language of perhaps splinter groups compared to the giant multinational. But I feel that this is a very, very important observation, that perhaps we end up with triple the amount of little companies in lingerie, with a fantastic focus on diversity. And I must say, the amount of knowledge and the amount of hunger for knowledge is unbelievable. I have been very active in that show in Shenzhen, organizing it from distance, because I couldn't go. It's forbidden to go to China, so everything on distance. And then you also discover these very intelligent people on the other side of the planet, willing, enthusiastic. At this moment, if you see that fair is very busy, and the age of the visitors, if I can judge, especially in that part where Aude is, where Interfilière is, which is called a creative lab, is everybody is probably not older than 25. So we are entering in a complete new world. I'm sure of that. And me and Virginie, I feel. With all of you a little bit aged, but not you, Virginie, because you did your best, but I need to do something as well to hype it up. But okay, what we're talking about is something, yeah, you're laughing.
I can't help it.
It's good to laugh. It's absolutely totally necessary. I'm talking to something which we call mindfulness, because trends, I mean, what are trends? Basically, a sort of sum up what you see most, and then you redo it again. It has become like that. We always have worked from observing women in lingerie. That has been Concept Paris' specialty from its start. We have so discovered that women wanted a t-shirt bra because they were afraid under their t-shirts, which were then the outfit, to show their nipples. Nothing to do with the industry or with high-tech development, purely coming out of changing attitude of women. And we are going through that as well. So we have to study basically what women find important in their life, what they want to achieve, what they want to see, what they find comforted by, what they find beautiful. And so the mindsets which we are talking about, that is what we did. We sort of summed up and we said, what now is in the mind of people, because do not forget, it is not one taste. There's a lot of diversification going on. And what we all have to do is to listen and to observe, and to be quite aware that easy solutions are not the job we are in for. Let me introduce to everybody our panel. Our panel is Jennifer Wigham. When you know me, probably you know her as well, because Jennifer has directly worked after university for 13 years with Concepts Paris, has worked in our office in New York, has worked in office in Paris, later in London. She's a very thorough lingerie designer. Virginie Wittmer is the sales director of Sofileta, and I invited her because we have a tendency, this subject is about utilitarian refinement, we have a tendency to then immediately throw everything in naturals or handmade naturals, and we do not forget, of course, that there is our wardrobe is still for a big part based on petrol-based fibers. Then we have Nicola Hopkins, a brand which I truly admire because her way of looking at the world, I share that very much. She's a passionate designer, bold intimates. And then, of course, we have Aude Penouty from Entada, who, if you want to know anything about sustainability, about fibers, who does what, she is the person to ask, because she knows everything. She is she is a knowledgeable person. She is a designer, but especially I think she's also very much a trade journalist. She writes for Eurovet. But what combines us all, including myself, we are curious. We are not letting ourselves down and sitting there and thinking, no, this is now everything we liked and we did is over, and we are staring at our navels. No, that's not what we do. We love this. Actually, most of you, and I talked already with a lot of you, most of you actually find this a challenge. There's pain, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of our colleagues who are out of work, but there are also a fantastic amount of chances and opportunities. And we have discovered more than anything else, women are, everybody talks about women, women and their need for lingerie. There are all kind of, before the corona already, we started to talk about body consciousness, about body positive, about inclusivity especially, and that is of course one of the subjects of today. Okay. And this is a beautiful quote, which I really would like you to read, because this is really part of the sustainability. Is there's a growing necessity for lingerie designers to become ambassadors of beauty, like making makeup. It's not superfluous to be beautiful. It is investing in everything that pleases is also the only way that you can that we can say that women will probably keep their garments longer and will feel connected to it. And that is also my personal feeling, that if we want sustainability to become a success, it has to come from us, the designers, to make garments that women really are longing for to buy. And we have seen the enormous success, for instance, in interior design. I remember there was a couple of years ago, we talked about the Dutch school of interior design, very much pushed by Lee Edelkoort, I remember, very much also pushed in Milano during the design week. Young designers who started to throw actually everything overboard, started to work with burned wood, recycle, and that has given an enormous push to the whole industry. And sustainability in interior design and architecture is a plus. It's part of the whole package, and that we have to make sure that happens, and that sustainability is certainly not just a hang tag. I want to quickly take you in lingerie in a changing world. It's already happening. I'm not forecasting anything. I'm just observing. Women have already shown before the pandemic that they are comfort creatures. That is, I always say, of course they want comfort from their lingerie. You don't put a car without wheels. But what is happening what has happened in the meantime, that we have seen an enormous change of morphology and also of lifestyles. And what fits one person doesn't necessarily is comfortable for another person. We have seen that from a corsetry leading the trends, that for a big part at this moment, it's activewear brands that leading the trend, and that of course is because they are not so obsessed by fit. They are not so obsessed by tradition. They are making things that fit nice and are functional and have a purpose. Can you still hear me? I have a feeling that I'm muted myself. No, you still hear me? Okay. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we are discussing at the moment is smart design. Design where you really can say, I can wear that. I can dress it up. I can dress it down. I can go to the gym. I can go to the yoga, and that is not only a question of designing. That's a question of being aware what is going on in the fabric world. For instance, we made these prototypes for Sanko. Actually, was done by Virginie. For Sanko and in double face fabric, because the enormous advantages, you can use it on both sides. You can do different things with it. You can wear it on both sides. It is one of those elements of smartness with design that is certainly something to develop. We also have very much discovered that women have an enormous need to feel happy with their own body. That is also since the last couple of months before the virus, before the pandemic, that became a real obsession at a certain moment, where there were big action groups who were complaining about not being included in everything. The industry made it immediately into a size issue. It's much more than a size issue. It's a feeling of we want choice. We want to choose what we want, and that is, of course, in a world where unification on a global scale is very much a case. That is logical. We have seen lingerie departments for a big part being impoverished, and actually with women which are so interested in their own body, in their own style, that should not be the case. One of the points I want to make as well, it's not only about simple, straightforward, sporty products. It's also about comfort and femininity, and that is a nice little jump to my next presenter, to my next panelist, which will be Nicola, who is Nicola. I have here your boards. Tell us a little bit about your brand first.
Sure. Hi everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, okay.
Okay. I can't start with without just saying thank you first for that amazing introduction, Jos. I feel really ignited and inspired by that summary. So thank you, it's fantastic. And thank you for having me today. So a little bit, just to recap, I'm Nicola. I'm an intimate apparel technologist and director of Bold Intimates, which is an expert product development studio providing technical services and sustainable solutions for lingerie and swim brands. This includes responsible sourcing, pattern cutting, grading, sampling, fitting, the whole sort of technical design and product development process. So our ethos, our main ethos and goal at Bold Intimates is to design and build garments with precision, authenticity, transparency, and integrity to achieve impeccable fit, performance, but above all to ensure a positive and meaningful experience for the wearer, but also for all the humans involved in that process and their environments. And for me, my passion is that I very much believe all of these things are linked as a measure of sustainability. And I think it's of the utmost importance, that Jos has already touched on, that we are in sync with our own humanness and emotion and what's really going on for us at any one moment. And of course, we're all different, and certainly over the last few months, we've all felt all the emotions. So it's a great time to tap into that. So this is my first board, Humanness, which is really images I've brought together of brands who I feel do a really great job at tapping into our real human emotions. They evoke feelings like anger, fear, despair, joy, enlightenment, as well as displaying archetypes that we can all relate to, such as motherhood, sisterhood, sexuality in different forms. For me, these products and imagery just feel really real. I can relate to them on a human level, in my body, in my core, rather than perhaps portraying something that feels aspirational but a little bit out of reach. And so this is something I try and have alive within inside me when I'm designing and working with clients. So moving on to the second board, Mimicking Nature, which again for me sits very closely to the humanness concept. Being in tune with nature. I think certainly over my career, over the last 15 years of working in the industry, I feel like we've forgotten that nature is king, nature is in charge. I think we have social and economical constructs which aren't in line with nature at all and aren't in line with our humanness. So I have a belief that if we can work in a natural way, in our natural flow with nature rather than against it, that will be what is the most sustainable. There are a few ideas on here I can just pick out. I could talk about this all day, so I'll try and be brief. The top right hand corner, this brief, is that this is a brand called Hoo Ha, a Canadian brand. It's one of my new favorites. It's very, very simple. I think they've only got 2 products at the moment, 2 briefs, and they have a very clear message and story, and it's for vaginal health. It's to feel good, it's so the fabrics can breathe. They use natural fibres. They use a lyocell infused with zinc, so they tell a story about natural minerals and properties. And so these underwear, they're naturally moisture wicking, antimicrobial, soothing inflammation, and avoiding infection in a most intimate area, which is a very real thing that happens to a lot of women that we rarely talk about. And so it's this sense of, what's happening to the human? How can we mimic what's happening naturally in nature? Nature's natural properties, why can't we use them as they were designed to be and incorporate that into the garments that we wear closest to our skin? Another point on this board I'd like to touch on, because I know it's something Aude knows about, the bulk thread fibre. I'm trying to remember the name. I did read your article about the spider's web fabric. I'm sure you can tell us about that, Aude, where they're not using spider's web protein, but they're mimicking how spiders make the webs to actually produce the yarn in a similar way, in a really natural way. And that, just blows my mind. That just feels like light bulb moment, like this this exists in nature, this knowledge, you know, that we can tap into, which I think is super exciting. And there's so many stories we can tell around that I think will really engage the customer. Okay, and final board and key point for me, obviously I'm a technologist, so I'm all about the detail. Precision, accuracy, transparency. For me, every little detail counts, right down to the stitch size, the composition, the pitch of a wire to the millimeter, all has the ability to completely change the experience of the design. So a key concept I feel, again, really passionate about is that it's great to have an aesthetic that is totally beautiful and evokes emotion in us. But if we put it on the body and it doesn't feel right, if it feels scratchy or too synthetic, it can't breathe, or if it squishes us where we don't want to be or digs in, we take it off and it stays in a drawer, or, you know, we never wear it again and we go out and buy something else. So for me, a key to sustainability in this industry is how we construct our garments and how we work really closely with the designers to ensure that their vision, the meaning they have in their soul, which is so important right now, is carried through the whole product development process, every little detail, so that that same essence is what the consumer receives. And that's something I feel we don't currently, that's what we're lacking in the industry.
Thank you, Nicola. You are passionate. Okay, now we go. I'm sure about your spider web that there's Aude who can probably answer that already. Who the people are who do that, because she's very much busy with this bio source of sustainability. And we could now go to Jenny. Jenny. We are very excited also to know that a lot of Jenny's clients are getting more involved in it. It has been still, from a buying point of view, from a sourcing point of view, a little bit like, do you think, Jos, that I need something sustainable in my range? Okay. So that is one of those changes now, because especially what I wrote as well, 20, but where somebody says, I don't care whether you are vegan and what your reasons is or how much sustainability you invested in, when everybody does something within its own means and seriously continues to do it, it will already save us 25% of our carbon footprint, which we now have in textiles. So I've become milder, I can say. I'm not sort of, how dare you say that? You have to be sustainable. You have to take it serious. No. We all have to say bravo. Okay, Jenny, here you go.
Thank you. Yes, I totally agree with that. I think it's really difficult as sort of a consultant or a freelancer to tell a client exactly what they should be investing in, because it's a big investment for these companies to sort of make a decision and to go one way or the other on sustainable and whether to invest in yarns and what have you. But I think you just made the exact point that we should just do something, and you know, it's a journey and we're learning all of the time, and doing something is better than doing nothing in this sort of sustainable journey. So anyway, in terms of the visuals, I've just got 3 boards to share with you today. And this first board is one of my themes for Spring Summer 22. I call it The Essence, and it focuses on the beauty of living with less and of wanting to surround ourselves with very pure, very honest things. It's actually something that has developed during lockdown, and so it definitely is a direct reaction to it. But I think it really reflects the joy that many of us have found from living more simply, less complicated lives, But at the same time, I do still believe that this is definitely a trend with longevity. I think that that feeling that we've had during lockdown of sort of feeling very at ease and very comfortable with ourselves, I think that that is something that we definitely want to try and keep a hold of going forward. The idea of buying less, buying better, moving away from fast fashion, investing in garments that are designed to last, I think that that really is something that resonates quite deeply with so many women, especially after this period. So although I use the word simplicity, we definitely don't mean boring or plain. I think there's definitely a strong decorative element here, organic patterns, geometrics, but all in a very stylized way, quite designed. Everything's very easy on the eye and quite fuss-free. The colors are basic, but at the same time, they're very sharp, very designer, and they combine very well together. They're very versatile. I think one of the interesting design solutions within this theme is the concept of taking something that's very classic and that functions very well, but then just elevating it and making it much more contemporary. So for example, the redesigned Birkenstock on the right-hand side, which is redesigned by Proenza Schuler. And it really just takes all of the essential Birkenstock attributes, but then it's just become much more urban and cool, just with those little tweaks in the design details. And I think that that's also something that we can really take into lingerie design, especially into bras, taking something that's very practical, classic, functional, but then innovating it and elevating it with new materials, for instance. So this thing really
sold out.
Sorry, sold out, really? Oh,
sold out everywhere.
So this design, this theme really is centered on the idea of considered design or slow design. That's really at the center here. But I think one of the points that I really want to make in this talk is that we all talk about the issue of fast fashion and wanting to move away from that. But I think maybe that's much more of an issue for the ready-to-wear industry than for the lingerie industry. You know, maybe there aren't so many women that are buying wasteful amounts of lingerie season after season. But what I do sometimes feel is that as an industry, we can sometimes be a little bit too wasteful. I don't like being negative, but, you know, perhaps we try to design too quickly. There's a lot of sampling. Everything's very fast. Do we really spend enough time on perfecting ideas and on perfecting those garments and making them fit really beautifully? And that's, Nicola, why I got so excited when you were talking about precision and about making those garments that are just perfect. And not only do they look beautiful, but they also feel beautiful. So I think that as an industry, that's really one of the most important ways that we can add to this sustainable future is, yes, creating garments that are gorgeous, but also they should be qualitative and they should be designed to last, basically. So if you can just move on to the next slide, and just a couple more images to share. So going back to the area of textiles, of course, there's so much happening at the moment, organic fabrics, recycled yarns, recycled plastics, and it really feels sometimes like there's so much going on and we just don't know where to look and what to advise clients on. So just a few points that I find really interesting at the moment. I definitely want to talk about the brand Organic Basics. Quite an interesting brand. I really admire them because I find that they're really non-compromising in their approach. If it's not sustainable, they don't do it, full stop. And they're very transparent about what they're doing. So they started with organic cottons, very simple product, but they've gradually built on that and they've invested and they've developed and they have a much wider range of garments available now. And like I say, they understand that sustainability is a journey. They improve over time and they don't worry about whether it's exactly the perfect solution right now. They just go ahead and do it because every little helps. I think that some of the activewear brands are doing really amazing things at the moment. You know, we know a lot about Adidas and Nike and what they're doing, but I also think that Puma is quite interesting at the moment. They're very experimental. So this image in the center is from their Design to Fade collection, which is dyed using bacteria. And also they are focusing on this product being manufactured on demand. So their focus for the future is a zero waste fashion future. So perhaps that's something in 20 years' time, we'll just be producing bras on demand. And then something closer to our own world on the right-hand side here, very interested in Pioneer Elastic and Pen Textile Solutions. They're focusing on sustainability in a big way, in many various ways. But I'm particularly intrigued by the biodegradable developments at the moment. And both of these are using full gauze unemotional eco yarn and Roika V5550. So to create products that should be decomposed within 5 years, I believe. And I think at first, when we first started on the whole sustainable story, maybe 2 or 3 years ago in a big way, everything seemed to be very natural, you know, organics and knits and this sort of thing. But now we do see the components available that are eco-friendly. We see shapewear developments. So really, I think as a lingerie industry, there are fewer excuses to actually act in a sustainable way going forward. And then my final slide. So this brings us back to the idea of considered design, of slow design, and all of the 3 brands on this page really take smart design very seriously. They focus on durable products that last beyond seasons, and also on ranges that are very versatile. They can be worn for more than one event, on more than one occasion, so you don't have to buy as much. And I think that's a really key point where women would be interested in investing more when they can wear it for more than one occasion. Absolute, one of my favorite brands at the moment is Opaque. I think they have such an amazing aesthetic. And what I find really amazing, Agathe, the designer owner, she's just seems to be such a clever designer. And I think that she manages to really perfectly balance between a look that is, on the one hand, very timeless, but on the other hand, it looks really trendy and very contemporary. And I think that that's very, very clever in design. And obviously she does pay a lot of attention to quality and to precision in the garments. Perf Studio is from Portugal. And as I said, they're one of those, an activewear brand that focuses on the idea of versatility, timeless garments that you can wear for many different occasions. And then finally, on the right-hand side, this is actually a new brand for me that I discovered very recently. It's called Ehrlich. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's German.
Ehrlich.
Yeah, I can't say that. So unfortunately, the whole website was in German, but I did manage to understand that they have actually won the Sustainable Brand of the Year in Germany recently. So they use sustainable materials. This lace, for instance, uses Q-Nova, which is a recycled yarn. So I imagine it's from Shanti or maybe Weber or Siva. I know that they use Q-Nova yarns. What I also find interesting is that to me, they look like a very universal brand. I think that many brands in this sustainable area focus more on a younger consumer, on Gen Z, for example, or on smaller cup sizes. And I actually think that this brand manages very well to be slightly more global and to appeal to a wider range of women. So that's my slides. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting, Jenny. I think our audience would have loved that amount of knowledge. And more knowledge, guys. Take your pens and pencils out because here it comes. Aude.
Yes. First we have
Aude, where are you?
Hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a request. If you could close your color little thing at the bottom left.
I don't have a color little thing on the bottom.
Okay. So who is sharing the screen? Whose screen is that?
I share the screen.
But anyway.
I send you I send you the pictures, Jos.
Yeah, but I don't have a color box on the bottom.
To answer Nicola, the bow thread thing, it's micro silk from bow thread. And this is inspired by the spider web, which has a natural way of stretching. So micro silk it's called. And I just want to also say that I agree with Janie when she says it's very difficult to come to a customer and to say you have to do this and you should do that. sustainability is definitely a journey, and it's also about a systemic approach. And when you come to a customer, it's really important to build with it.
Oh, sorry, Aude, I think I have to stop sharing.
Ah.
No, you can talk.
Okay. So just want to say a few words in my experience. I've been 12 years abroad in factories, looking for fabrics, designing for brands. So that's why I have a global view on fabrics. Jos, can you come back to the first?
Yeah, then I have to start resume sharing again. I'm always in a mess here.
Okay, so I did prepare 4 boards.
Yeah.
To try to show how the sustainability KPI is evolving. The first board is about trends. I cannot see it on my screen. I don't know if other people are seeing it.
Not?
No.
I think I have to stop sharing.
Okay, the first board is called trend.
Okay, here. Now, if you just talk about yourself, what you're doing.
Okay. So, what I do, I do research about sourcing and sustainable.
I don't know what I do.
Sorry?
I don't know how to get out of it. So stay with. It is always very interesting. I can't get to that stop thing. Okay. Okay. Here we go.
Okay. So I do cover like sustainable sourcing research. I do trend studies, product development, if it's asked by the customer, and I also do content for Interfilière, but for some other online media as well. So getting ready with this conference, I've asked myself, what is essential in sustainability now? And I think there is like really 3 important subjects, which are communication, transparency, and diversity. And this is a strong thing that we can see now in the brands like Gucci, which created this new brand made of 100 sustainable sources, but also some small labels which are really sharing every details of the price calculation. So they are very transparent. There is strong messages around transparency, and diversity. Diversity has been a strong subject also in US recently, but also in Europe. So this is very important for the brands to go to those kind of sustainable subjects with integrity. And integrity somehow could start with the fabric. So we are on the sourcing board now, and there is the top left image. It's a US brand called Made the Label, and they are really transparent about what is made with what fabric is made the garments, and because they believe you are what you wear. So every fabric is touching the body. So it's really, really important to share inputs about the fabric. And then sustainability goes to different kind of way. It could be organic, it could be recycled, it could be upcycled. And that's true now. I'm more focused on biosourced and regenerative or biomimicry fabrics. That's why I've been sharing some images about those subjects. So we have like biosource examples like orange fiber, which is using agricultural waste to create a viscose fabric. It looks like silk, but it's not. And it's really a circular fabric, for instance. But there is also some example about the accessories that you have to use in bras or in panties, for instance. And I'm thinking about the buckles which are made with metals. There is Zamac, for example, which is doing, and there is a very nice US brand called the Days Swimwear, which is using those kind of accessories. And then if we go deeper in the biosource and in the biomimicry, there is really strong innovations around sustainability. I'm going to talk, for example, about a study called Compossense.
Is that your next slide?
Sorry?
You want to go to a next slide?
That's the sourcing slide. So on my screen, there is a sourcing slide.
Jos, can you share your screen?
No, let's say share your screen, because I'm not sharing the screen anymore.
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Is that a problem? I don't know. This is too weird to be true. It happens each time.
Okay, let's
Maybe there's a delay.
share my screen, but I'm not sure. Actually.
What is happening?
I try.
Am I sharing?
Yes, we can see it. If you move down.
Okay. So I need you to come back to the previous screen.
Oh, that is very interesting.
Up.
This one?
Next one up. Yeah, stop.
This is one. This is it. Okay. So I was talking about biomimicry, and I want to share an example, which is called fabric. Sorry. This is super innovative. It's been award. They received the award of H&M Global Sustainable Solution, and they are one of the finalists for the LVMH Innovative Prize. Those guys are creating from a CO2 fabric, let's say a CO2 raw material. They are doing a synthetic fiber from this CO2. So it's really under process at the moment. There is no fabrics released yet. It's going to be released in the autumn. But those kind of things are super interesting. It would be probably a 3 to 5 years released in the industry. But those kind of solutions are super interesting to go deep. Then I want to also talk about how the COVID-19 made us rethink about the fabrics in our own industry. And there is a lot of solutions now about antimicrobial things. And there is one Swiss lab called AQ, which is developing a very strong finishing for fabrics, which will be stopping the microbes and the bacteria on the fabrics. So there is plenty of solutions we can explore together with customers. Then if we go to next slide, which is called digital. Here I gathered some examples of the newest apps and platforms and technologies. I won't go too deep because on Thursday on Interfilière.com, a full article will be released about that. But now we can just see that the full chain is covered by digital solutions. So you can do 3D designs. You can look for fabrics. You can do trends research and markets reports with artificial intelligence. You can work with people to on-demand production. They are managing for you the stock and production. They are cutting the fabrics, sending them for you to the factories. There is also obviously some transparency apps. There is all the circular rental things coming. And all those apps are solutions provider for your business from the very beginning of sourcing to the last step of retails and how you can re-commerce your stock and so on. And we can go to the final slide, which will talk about brands. So those brands are really my favorite at the moment because they've been evolving each one in different way with a systemic approach, but also with their own culture book because we cannot involve in every situations. Some brands are involving in inclusivity and fabric. Some other, they are really involved in the made in. So it's deserved to be studied. The top left brand is from Australia. It's super interesting. It's called the Very Good Bra. And this is 89% biodegradable bra. So it's made of organic cotton, and they did the test in 8 weeks if you go to their website, you will find a video. In 8 weeks, this bra is totally eaten by worms. This is super impressive. It's just some elastic left, but the product is really disappearing. Then I want to also share some very nice brand. It's from UK. It's called the Ender Argument, and this brand is focusing on inclusivity and diversity without compromising the sourcing. So she's using like Ecotex fabric, organic cotton, recycled lace, and all those kind of products. And she's also very involved in the way she's casting her model. She made up a thing called anti-casting, and actually everybody can apply. So you just have to write a letter to the brand, sharing your view of the brand, sharing what is your feelings about the brands and how do you feel in your body and so on. And then the designer reads the letters, and she's picking people only the last day when the shooting is happening. So there is no measurement issues, there is no color scheme issues. She needs to be moved by your story, and she will shoot you in her product because she knows how to make the both of them working. Then if we go to some homeware product, there is this French brand called Germaine Després. And this is very simple designs, and it has a super fabric which is made from milk protein. So it's made from the casein, from the protein from the milk. And it's a kind of milk cotton, which is super soft. It's a circular fabric, and it's not available all the time. So she's also using the availability to design her collection. And she really made something different about the seasonality and your relationship to time when you design and when you share your designs, because you need to respect the fabric cycle also. And there is also at the bottom, there is one brand that I want to talk about. It's another French brand called Simplement Lingerie. This designer had a skin issue, and she's super involved in the fabrics. So everything will be Ecotex. Everything is made in France, and she doesn't compromise about the fabric. Everything has to be meaningful in her choice. So she really reducing her sourcing, but she is super aligned with what she's looking for. And she works around that, so this is possible. It's also happening in the swimwear, like this US brand called the Day Swimwears. They have very nice, simple fabrics, and they are playing with the printing. And it's a sustainable prints system as well, which I forgot the name, sorry. But just to show that sustainability is not boring. Sustainability is something you can really work on in relationship with the fabric suppliers, with the yarn suppliers, with freelancers like us, and together we can create your cultural book. And it's not also, it can evolve according to your market and the time of the year you are. So let's collaborate, actually.
Thank you, Aude. That was impressive. So all you have heard on the is your story written in English or in French?
Both, actually.
Both. Okay. So when is it appearing, Cécile, on the website?
It should be on Thursday, I think.
Okay. On the Salon de la Lingerie website.
Interfilière.com.
Interfilière.
Okay.
Yes. And all the other articles of Aude are available on our website.
Okay. So that brings me to an obvious thing. We already have established that that a lot of the interesting and very developed sustainable brands are all startups, and startups have a different way of fabric sourcing. And my question to Virginie was: suppose now, with the difference between activewear or underwear and swimwear and sportwear is actually not that big. It's basically the same fabric. So can we imagine to reduce our sampling and to also reduce our amount of different suppliers, because that is, as everybody knows, and you only have to look in your warehouse, an enormous amount of stuff very often which is not used. Now, what I did a lot of talking, of course, traveling all over the world, asking questions, and every time when I went to somebody who makes basic synthetic fabrics, like for swimwear, they come with fantastic marketing programs. They films where they show me how they fish out nets of the ocean, and that is then in their fabric. And then when somebody else is telling me, Jos, it's only 10%. So there's something in my mind which says, let me now find one manufacturer who is close near the market, who has an excellent amount of information for me, which makes sense, and that certainly by knowing people. And I don't know who of you was sending me that message. I think it was online in regards to one designer saying, okay, we don't talk about it, but this is, apart from a very good designer, also a delightful person. I think in Corona, I have at a certain moment decided that I will not work with anybody I don't like anymore, because it's a lot of stress and it's a lot of aggro, and there is in a human relationship also the factor of pleasure, which makes us more creative. So that brought me to Sofileta, which has, and I hope that Virginie can show us a little bit how you made it all clear what is available and how much it is sustainable, and for which end use it is, to reduce our enormous amount of fabrics, and also what I found interesting, they help you as a small company with your small quantities to do tests, etc. That's true, huh, Virginie? You test also for people. So here we go to our Virginie, and I start with this new slide she sent me this afternoon, how she sees what we all should do. We should indeed start with the consumer.
Well, thank you, Jos, and thank you for having me. Sofileta is located in France and was established in 1911. We do believe as a company in production in France. We are vertically integrated, and we try to think about tomorrow, improving the way we work, we operate, and how cleaner we can get. So sustainability is highly interesting because it really implies thinking before acting and trying to come back to a certain common sense. I've heard a lot of keywords during those presentations, bringing a lot of hope, a lot of passion, and I must say that all the designers, consultants I've heard today do things with passion, and this is definitely important. And in this virtual world, or we try to be convinced that everything can be virtual, all contacts can be replaced by digital methods. I'm convinced of the contrary. More than ever, advice, warm contacts, and human relationship are key factors to succeed in any project. Coming back to the core subject, Jos, you were talking about startups very committed to sustainability. The first question we get from startups is not, hello Sofileta, can you provide me with this fabric to do swimwear or lingerie? Is, hang on, I'm lost. I just don't understand. what is pre-consumer recycled polyester? What is post? Are all the recycled polyester yarns recycled to the same degree? What is rich? What is GRS? How does your polyester line, recycled polyester line, perform better? We are also overwhelmed by questions, because I think that there are a lot of promises, a lot of stories being told, and it's about time to be more accurate and to separate the stories and the real true stories. Because technology innovation is promising a lot, but I can tell you that as an industrial manufacturer, you have to adapt yourselves to these new technologies, and there is a big gap between what the promise is and what you actually see in production. So between the promise, the performance, the actual degree of recycled products, and the experience we make in production to enable us promising as well consistency, quality, and premium quality for the designers and the brands, this is a challenge as well. So we feel it is our responsibility to source reliable, local yarn suppliers with absolutely clean chain of custody, with tracer in the yarns. So we really try to clean up the situation at our end to make sure that whatever fabric we offer those companies, it is clean, so to speak. Not only the product, but the way it has been conceived and the way it has been selected from our end. Now, the market is very much changing. We must, as a fabric manufacturer, care for service, design, and beauty of the product. So that's why we have put a lot of efforts in never out of stock programs with bright colors and full color palettes of 50 up to 55 or 60 colors to be able to deliver just a roll of fabric. So that reduces the impact on storage, money, and we feel this is an important support to any new company coming to us with sharp ideas. Already 5 years ago, we felt very sorry to say, well, we love your project. We would definitely be the right partner for you, but sorry, our MOQs are 300 meters per color. The lead time will be 4 to 6 weeks. Right. So we thought there are two ways of thinking. We keep our pattern, or we try to adapt ourselves. So this is what we've done. And we will have some big launches in September. And Jos, yes, nowadays, with the available yarn counts, we can offer fabrics, knits or wovens, suitable for lingerie, yoga, athleisure, swimwear, to produce tops and bottoms, bringing the necessary versatility. So again, the challenge is to define the real need for each brand, and it is down to us to come up with the, as honestly as possible, and again, in the full meaning of the word, using components that are reliable, as much as possible local, and making sense, again, making sense for everybody, for us, for the yarn manufacturer, for the brand, the designer, and back the end consumer, who in the end will feed us all. So we should never forget that. you can see on our brochure a few examples.
Yeah, this brochure, can I interrupt, guys? Is absolutely fantastic. It is very, very simple language, so I can even understand it. Sometimes those explanations are a little bit too technical. We couldn't show you every page, but I would absolutely, if you want to know more, I would communicate with Sofileta to have that brochure. The brochure is very, 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 very interesting.
Thank you, Jos. Well, we try to do less, but to have a very good selection, not to have bad surprises, because in the end, there must be also an economical balance. It has to be fairly priced. It has to be quality for that price. It is our part of the commitment in this project. So we try to promise less, but to confirm more on a very substantial basis. Just a quick comment on the biodegradable polymers. This is, I think, a very interesting solution, but for the moment, and maybe Aude can add a comment on that, it is still a problem to biodegrade these products, because they have to be buried without oxygen in a landfill. They cannot just biodegrade in your garden. So again, a lot of explanation, a lot of accuracy must be given for each yarn category, what it does, what it can make. We try not to frustrate anybody, but when we have customers saying, oh, Sofileta, we love your interlock ultra fine gauge knit, this is fantastic, can you do this in a recycled version? The answer is no. Why? Because those yarns are so fine, and the technology doesn't allow current available yarn sizes. Unfortunately, everything takes time, we said that. All available yarns in a standard version are not available in any sustainable or upcycled or regenerated, whatever the word is used. So we do with what we have as of today. And this brochure will probably evolve every 6 months, because we have more and more proposals from always more challenging yarn suppliers pushing the limits. But we love the concepts, we love the bright ideas, we love the innovation, and we love them even more once we've tried them out, and we know that they are reliable once it comes to production. So this is our responsibility, not only to be the loudspeaker of those yarn suppliers, but to have tested them and ensure that they are viable and we can use them to offer the expected quality level.
Is there from any of the other panelists a question to Virginie?
Not so much a question, but just more in a way, you mentioned that you can't always do any fabric and any type of yarns because there are limitations. And actually, that's not necessarily a negative thing. I think that as a designer, sometimes it's quite good to have limitations and to have boundaries to design within, because somehow it kind of helps you with creativity. So I think as long as we understand the limitations, and I think if there is more communication about about the whole world of sustainable fabrics, then hopefully we can sort of learn to be creative within those boundaries.
I fully agree with you, and this is why this sustainability, this green oblige line is interesting for us, because we dedicate a lot of time to give information, to explain, to be as much as possible educative. Well, not only we like to do that, but we think it is important, and it really creates a link between the designers, the brand, and it really puts you in a totally different mindset. So you really build something with the brand, and then you have a loyal approach and respect, mutual respect. And I think we have to have respect for each métier, job, specialty. A yarn producer is not a knitter. A knitter is not a garment manufacturer. A garment manufacturer is not a material sourcer. I think everybody has a very clear part to play and should not be shy. And this is what I love about working with startups. We see an awful lot of people very brave, attacking the market and having a lot of ideas and being extremely brave, thinking out of the box. So we should encourage this kind of talent and bringing them the necessary support and trying not to overwhelm them with huge quantities or too technical words. I mean, when we go to the bankers or to buy a house, you get contracts you cannot understand, and I've always hated that. So if somebody, when you find somebody, well, just to tell you how to use your vacuum cleaner or to have a simple explanation with things summed up and framed, well, this is the key to paradise sometimes. So it helps. At least you save time, and it's a lot of fun.
How much do you agree, all of you? Please, I would like Nicola, that actually the consumer will not pay a higher price when a product is sustainable, or do you think that should not be the first? Give me your own thinking about that, Nicola.
Sure, thank you. I keep hearing recently people, the feeling is that the consumer is prepared to pay more. I think certainly the younger millennial generation are expecting more from the garments, that they want meaning and they want transparency. They want to know how it's been made and who's made it. And I mean, I have read some reports and some statistics. I'm afraid I don't have those right now, but I do believe that the facts are there to support that. But in order for them to pay more, I think we need to cover these. I've got three main areas in my mind we've covered, which are the aesthetic. So we need to seduce them. I love, that was your term, Jos. I love that. We need to seduce them aesthetically. It needs to feel great when you put it on. Like, oh my God, you know, I've come alive because of this thing on my body. And thirdly, the transparency in the story to communicate in the best way, not to give them all the information, as Virginie has just said so well. You know, we don't need all the information, but just a simple message, a story that shows transparency, the meaning behind the journey. And when the consumer has that, they have connection, which evokes emotion, and trust. And so I think they'll be more committed.
Oh, there is one of my favorite words, which I just until now I kept my mouth closed. But I personally think that in this time where a lot of people, and especially I have a lot of friends in America, they feel abused.
Yes.
They feel abused by their system. They feel abused by their president. They feel that their role doesn't count anymore, and they really had enough of it. But I don't think it's typically America. It's typically that there has come a moment that we take we doubt about everything. And during our confinement, I don't know how it was with you, Jenny, I developed suddenly a sort of 10 points, and that is what I want, and that is who I am.
Yeah, it was a time of lots of reflection, and you sort of realize what's important in your life. And I think that's what this period has done. Like, we all now know what is important to each of us personally during confinement. So yeah, I think that's really
Aude, trust, does that mean anything to you?
Yes.
You who sums up so much, are you looking for signs that you can trust all your contacts?
As a personal consumer, yes. As a professional, yes, as well. And I'm going to share something that I say to my customers. It's like, keep it simple, share it with integrity, be true with what you are sharing. And I'm just going to share a quote. It's a survey made by an international bank called ING. And they say that 61% of consumers will be less willing to buy a company product if they discovered it was performing poorly on environmental and social practice.
Yeah.
It's really a systemic approach now. And as Virginie said, sometimes recycled yarn is not appropriate. And sometimes it's better to buy the original fiber made in France or made in USA or in your country. So it's cannot be a global approach anymore. It really has to become systemic, I think. And about the price, I think some of the consumers are ready to pay for more.
Yeah.
And I really believe also that the cost of sustainability, because let's be frank, it has a cost. And this cost has to be shared. And suppliers, they are already made a lot of efforts about that, believe me. So I think brands should be sometimes even more involved.
You are right, Aude, but in my personal observation and working with clients, they have a tendency to put their investment in ranges where they believe they get the most return on investment. And those ranges, especially in lingerie, are replacement products and without without any emotion attached to it. Are they good designs?
That's true. And at the same time, sustainability now, it's an investment that you have to do. Otherwise, it will cost you more than investment.
Yeah, but I still think that since those crazy studios of interior design like Boone and all those others started to make the most crazy products, that it even has helped the mass industry or to evolve, and I think that Sofileta, and there are more companies now who have decided that what was not possible 3-4 years ago, to allow small quantities, because they now say, we know now that these are the people who are activating the market. And that is very, very, very true. And the other thing is that I heard that in another webinar, that there are a couple of starter brands which are some years older already. They discovered the power of the internet actually during the confinement and started to do that. It was actually the person who talked about that was Dora Larsen, and was the owner of the brand Dora Larsen, and she said that design and the trust in the owners and an internet who could so much talk about the people behind a design much easier than when you have your product bought by somebody and then hang in a shop or in a range or in a department store. So that element of personal involvement seems to be very interesting. There's another, there was one of the crowned brands, perhaps you have heard that, in America, which was considered, also had a prize from the Wall Street Journal, I think, for being the best sustainable product. And the owner was suddenly convicted as being racist recently, last week. And the whole company is suddenly falling apart because it is not only your fiber and your product, it's how you behave as a human being that is suddenly under scrutiny. And that's considered as also as part of sustainability, your awareness of creating a pleasant life for others. So interesting point from brass to racism, but it's what we live with. I hope that you all had a pleasant webinar. Did you look at the questions?
Yes, one for Virginie. Virginie, people want to know if there are a minimum quantity for
there is a minimum quantity for custom colors, obviously. Otherwise, for the color cards, there is no minimum for sampling from 1 to 10 meters. And then after that, it's just a roll and available we have several programs and knits in 35 to 50 colors.
I can guarantee that. I have your color card in front of me. A roll is 50 to 60 meters. I can tell you as well.
So this is integrity. Jos is verifying online information.
Yeah, it says it here. An Excel active stretch fit. A roll is 50 to 60 meters. So, but okay, but I get what you mean. This is, if you say nitty-gritty. Other questions, Cécile?
Yes, but I think I can send the list asked by email later with the replay, because people want to know if all the speakers can get a list of the company from sustainable materials mentioned during the webinar. So maybe all the speakers can send me the list of all this company, and I will send to all the audience the list. You agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So
I would like
okay.
to go to the end. If anybody wants to add something, I think you all made it quite clear to me that we have entered a new phase in lingerie branding, which is consumer centric. And then I would like to share this slide with you, in which I would like to say, be well aware. And that is a little bit what all the big guys want you to believe, because diversity is something difficult. But, so they would like to push us all back into sort of cookie cutter product. But there is that whole need for diversity, that need to find your product, that need to make that you fall in love with yourself, because the product you have bought is such a pleasure, and you feel so delightful in it. I personally have been in a program where I wanted to make a big size bra, and I wanted to have a model in that big size, and we wanted to do together something, so that, because I found out that especially women who have a bigger cup size, they don't like themselves in the mirror. They find themselves, especially when they have to wear certain products. And so we went as long until the woman said, "Oh God, that's beautiful." Now, that is not very often the same product, and we have to deal also with preconceived ideas, what sells and what not sells. And that brings us to my other point, and I don't want to insult anybody, but I think businesses who work with designers should place the designers higher in the organization when it comes to strategical decisions. I think that it is an absolute must, because designers are sensitive people who feel and who observe, and they should be heard. And so that is certainly my ladies here who are saying fashion should not cost the earth, and do not underestimate me. We are quite aware, ladies, because you let your choice here, and the revolutionary power of diversity. I think we all have seen it on the street, and good luck. I think you are the right people to take this market forward. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Loved it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jos, and thank you everybody for joining us today. And as usual, I just remind you, if you missed the beginning, or if you want to listen again this webinar, don't worry, you will find a replay from tomorrow on our website, interfilière-paris.com. And to stay up to date, follow us on our social media, where you're gonna share the rest of our webinar talks and podcast program. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.